Hi, I'm Saad, and this is also my first proper video in front of a camera to be put onto the internet. And this video is a response to a video titled My Regrets About Joining UDVASH. And this is a early morning rant, not a late night, it's an early morning rant. So I saw this video about 8 to 9 hours ago. Uh, it was made by a HSC second-year-old girl named Mashrufa Nazrin. I hope I got that correct. And it was excellent. It was really good, and I was honestly astounded by how like good it was and how articulate and short she kept the whole thing. She did it in one take, and it's just a kind of record yourself saying your thoughts and post it to the world. And wow, bravo. And I really liked it, and it inspired me to create a response. Uh, a cry for help was cried, and it was heard, and it was seen. And I want to add to that cry. I want to add my voice to that pile. And I hope this video will be of some value to those who are watching. So this will be slightly different from her video, um, because half of what I'm going to talk about is going to be directly like responding to stuff that she said and adding to it, and the other half is going to be my personal experiences. So she wrote like five pretty points and then like showed it to you on camera, and I wrote my own points, but I wrote like a whole essay, and it's right there though. I have my script open over here, and I'm gonna be reading off of it. I just wrote it really quickly, whatever was on my mind, and okay, this is how it's gonna go. This might be a bit longer than that video, but if you clicked on this one, you probably just wanted more, so yeah, why not? Anyways, yeah. First thing is, when I first heard her voice, it calmed me a little, and it softened up my heart because I realized that there's a good chance she's from English version, that she's Evie. And I could be wrong. I'm assuming this fact. She hasn't said that, but she spoke English throughout the whole video, so I'm just going to assume she's from English version, but she very well could not be. And that warmed my heart because I'm an English version student. I'm an ex-English version student. I'm HEC 24, and God knows I struggled. I really struggled, and most English version students know what I'm talking about. They know the struggle of the English version student, the lack of material, the like, সব টিচারগুলো যে একদম মানে ড্যাম কেয়ার মতো থাকে, like we are basically considered a minority, even though I'm pretty sure right now we aren't one. So that's pretty sad, and it felt nice to see another English version voice talking about their struggles, and that encouraged me to talk about my own. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Okay. Um. Yeah. Lack of good English version material is well known in the English version among English version students. Up to SSC, there were a lot of um, lectures on YouTube, free lectures on YouTube in English version on the whole syllabus, but and that's what I followed all the way up to SSC. But after that, when HSC started, I realized, oh, no one is making English version content anymore, and it's all Bangla. and so that was a big hurdle to overcome. I realized my only proper choice would be UDVASH, who makes like half semi-English version, semi-Bangla version, kind of that, and it's good. The lectures are good. That's how I actually studied throughout HSC. But yeah, there was a severe lack of content, and since I'm HSC 24, it means I gave the admissions after HSC in 2024. Admission English version content is even worse. It's much worse. At least for HSC কিছু না কিছু একটা আছে ইউটিউবে, but for admissions nothing. Zip, nada, nothing. Nothing exists. I'm sure Udbhash's paid content exists, and there were a severe lack of question banks, and I think the only question banks that do exist is of Udbhash again. And so you could be asking me, okay, why not just get Udbhash? Then they make the content, they make the books, and my response would be it's 22. Like when in 2024, the course plus all the books and stuff were 22K. It's 22,000 taka, which is a lot to pay upfront. You might say it's not a lot for knowledge and for education, and I agree, but not everyone can really afford that. And it really sucked that there wasn't any alternatives. But whatever, I'm getting ahead of myself here. I was severely frustrated at the lack of English version content for admission. Now, science English version content exists, but no other unit exists, like for commerce or social science or humanities. Any other unit depends on the university, but I'm sure 80 to 90% of universities, public universities, English version content does not exist. Zero, zip. So that was very frustrating, and I didn't. Yeah, I remember during an admission exam, a teacher was saying, like, the invigilator who was looking after the exam, he was telling to the students, "Are all the students here English version?" And we all cried, "Yes, we are." And he was like, "Okay, good luck, because English version students generally don't make it." And I was just thinking that, huh, I wonder why. I wonder why they don't make it here. Like, were there any material, any question banks to study for this particular university English version? I don't think so. So, yeah, that was pretty sad. Anyways, moving on to the next topic. The first topic that she talked about was exhaustive details, right? Now we're getting into Udbhash and their like course contents. Uh, Exhaustive details. Now, details are necessary. Details really are necessary for learning, but they shouldn't be treated as basic concepts, right? They're details. They're they're like little um, they're extra decorations on top of what you already know to make that stronger, to make that foundation even stronger. But to make the foundation stronger, you need to have a foundation. And that's the problem that she stated, that there was no foundation. It does not exist. They only, like, not only care about the details, but there's so much details that you don't really know where the foundations end and where the details begin. All right. So she talked about nuclear physics. She talked about a chapter in nuclear physics in physics second paper, I believe, around the end. And it's a pretty easy chapter. I had a lot of fun with it. And she talked about how um, only one class was taken on the topic. And having studied nuclear physics, I understand how it can be effectively finished in one class. It's not that big of a chapter. It's kind of divided into two parts. Okay, so the first part is basically chemistry first paper, chapter 2, I believe, qualitative chemistry. If you have ideas about like electron shells and Rydberg maths and those stuff, and the electromagnetic spectrum, you won't have to study that again. If you have studied chemistry first paper chapter 2 properly, you don't have to study that again in nuclear physics, which is why I liked it. I had studied chemistry first paper second chapter, and that made it so that I don't have to study half the chapter basically. So the other half is radioactivity and radioactive decay and those formulas and whatnot. Okay, and so having said that, I see how this can only take one class to finish. However, one class does seem a bit short. I don't know how long a class is. I'm guessing it's around 2 hours. If it's less than 2 hours, then my god, that's not enough. If it's exactly 2 hours, that's still lacking. If it's more, okay, fine. Then I guess if it's 3 hours, then you can. It's fine. But here there's two things going on. Number one, they're dismissing all the students who hadn't properly studied qualitative chemistry, or they have in their first years and they forgot. She said that they kind of just dismissed it and just went on to teach the radioactive part, which is okay, but then again, there could be a lot of students who hadn't properly studied that chapter and that specific part of that chapter, and chances are it's around 40 to 50, but it's at least half. It's at least half or less than half. Okay, and they just casually dismiss that, which is bad. Now, number two, the second part of that problem is she talks about details. She says that okay, so they took one class to finish the radioactivity part, and they went into exhaustive details about everything, and that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. What I said before, that um, one class would be enough, 1 2 hour class would be enough, that's for the basics. That's for the basics and basic maths of whatever's left of radioactivity, the concepts and the maths and everything. But if they go into further detail, and she said that they did go into like a lot more detail, that's not enough. That's no longer enough. You need at least 2 to 3 classes then. And here's the thing about detail, right? It's supposed to strengthen your foundation. I already said this, I'll repeat it. Imagine you're learning a chapter. Imagine all the main topics of the chapter is a tree. Okay, it's shaped like a tree. Now, if I was teaching this chapter to you, I would first tell you about the biggest part of the tree, the trunk, right? The যেটা ছাড়া মানে tree হবে না আর কি. Then I would tell you about the roots. Then I would tell you about the branches. I would start big, then slowly go into like smaller and smaller subtopics. And then uh, I'm guessing all the large topics include the trunk, the big branches, small branches, and the roots. But that doesn't make up a complete tree. That finishes your foundation, but that doesn't make up a complete tree. So then I would tell you about the details. I would tell you about details of the trunk. I would tell you about the water transport inside the tree. I would tell you about the leaves. I would tell you about the chlorophyll in the leaves. I would tell you about how it photosynthesizes. I would tell you to just use this information to strengthen your understanding of what you know. And I'll make sure that you know that you don't have to remember these details. Only then will I tell you the details. Because then you at least have the full big picture. You at least know what the full tree looks like. You don't have to remember the full tree, just remember the trunks and branches and roots, but you at least know what it looks like. It's in your temporary memory. You don't need to commit it to memory, but you at least know. That's where details are important. Strengthening your foundational understanding. Learning that trees have leaves makes you understand the big picture much, much better. And yeah, that's basically where I was going with the details analogy. Hmm. Okay. So yeah, I wrote something that says details are meant to enhance the basics. They are not the basics. And yeah, that's about it. That's my conclusion on that. Second part. I realize this is a bit long. I'm sorry. Put me on 2x speed if I talk a bit slow. A second part is extreme marketing. Okay, yes, that is something that Udbhash is known for doing. Almost any tech, almost any education platform uses extreme marketing, but Udbhash uses it to an absurd degree. Okay, so let me get specific. So okay, the first thing I want to talk about is they have a one-time payment, right? Like you pay for 3 to 6 months, however long the course is, and you pay the full amount up front in one time, right? You come up, you sign up for the full course, you pay like a hefty fee, 20 to 25K. I'm not really sure how much it costs right now, but it's around that range, and that's a lot. Not only is it a lot, once you pay that amount, it's a big investment. You're stuck. You are just stuck because you just gave a big investment and you paid it all at once instead of paying it in installments in multiple months as you're studying. So, what if you paid that amount and now you realize it's not working for you, right? What do? You can't do anything. You have to go. Your parents will pressure you. I've asked of taka disi, and they'd be right. And it's just a stupid system, like this paying upfront thing. If it's not working for you, well, bad for you, I guess. Why'd you pay that much? Anyways, that's something I really don't like about them. They try to market their stuff to you so hard that all you have to do is just do that one tiny payment and then it's done. That's all they need you to do, and then it's over. They don't need to keep you hooked anymore. Okay. Um, Second point in extreme marketing, I wrote, all right, exams. So many exams. That's how they market it, right? Weekly exams, evaluation tests, monthly, overall review exams. You don't need that many exams. You don't, especially if it's your first year. Maybe in your second year it's more reasonable, but in your first year, absolutely not. And even in your second year, you should be aware because like at a certain point you get diminishing returns from exams are necessary, they're important to gauge your understanding and ability. However, they're not the primary way to learn. And like our parents think that তুমি যদি এক্সামে খারাপ করো দেন তুমি কিছু শিখো নাই, তুমি খারাপ মানে like yeah, you did nothing, you're useless. And that couldn't be further from the truth, especially the way. I want to talk about two things. Number one is the way Udbhash takes exams. Number two is how exams can be suffocating. So, number one, how Udbhash takes exams. I signed up for, during my HSC second year, I signed up for Udbhash model tests. I did not sign up for their academic classes, just their model tests. And this is a very extremely controversial opinion. I liked it a lot. It was really fun. Why? Okay, let me explain. উদ্ভাসের এক্সামগুলো এমনভাবে সাজানো that they're filled with questions you've probably never seen before. Either they're questions from like very obscure corners of your book that তুমি কখনো উল্টায়ও দেখো নাই, or they're মানে regular questions but এমনভাবে প্যাঁচাইছে যে you've never thought of it that way, and that excited me a lot. I liked not knowing these things. I am a below average student, I would like to say. I'll explain it in I'll explain it in detail later, but I am very much a below average student, and এইসব এক্সামে আমি I don't think আমি একটাও পাস করছি, একটাও পাস করি না আমি। But I still enjoyed it. That's my point. Because their exams are structured in a way where they basically cover what you don't know. They almost always cover what you don't know. And that's more exciting to me than just answering what I already know. Like, I know what I know, not most of it, but like a good chunk of what I know what I already know, how much I have progress I have covered. However, um, with their exams, I can find out my gaps in knowledge. I can test my what I already know even further with more twisted questions, and um, yeah, I can just find gaps in my knowledge, and that's more interesting to me. That's why I like the exams. However, I failed all of them. Like, I'm ektaও পারি নাই. I still like them, and that's why. And yeah, so how Udbhash takes exams. Number two, exams can be very suffocating. Okay, especially those who are admitted into Udbhash from year one, like first year. Are you okay? How's your life? Well, you don't have that much time if you try to do this many things. Like, chances are you're doing college, right? You're doing 5 to 6 hours of college. You're doing Udbhash exams. You're studying for them. Probably, I don't know if you're getting where you're getting the time from. You're having like 1, 2, 3 sirs for different subjects, and like, where are you getting the time? Where are you getting the time? You need at least 3 to 4 hours. Sorry, you need at least 3 to 4 hours of proper self study without anything. Just you and your copy, and just thinking about things to actually properly, genuinely study and remember things. Actually learn. Going to college, that's not learning. Especially if your classes suck, which it's Bangladesh, I'm guessing it does. For 80% of you, it does. Then you go to your coaching, and then you get like a zero, and your parents reprimand you for that. ধমক দেয়, আরো খারাপ লাগে, তখন কি আর পড়তে ইচ্ছা করে? দেন স্যার আসে যদি থাকে, স্যার আসে, স্যারের পড়া পারতেছ না, ধমক খাওয়া, আর পড়তে ইচ্ছা করে? সেম নেক্সট ডে, রিপিট রিপিট রিপিট। আই I cannot stress how this is how most people's HEC lives go for the most part. Anyways, that's enough of that. Extreme marketing, yeah, lots of exams, but not really helping you, are they? You still have no idea what that chapter is even about, and for some reason, no one can tell you either. No one can sit down and tell you, oh, এই চ্যাপ্টারে এই টপিক আছে, ওকে, এই টপিকে হচ্ছে এটা 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 বুঝতে হবে, ওকে, এটা মানে হচ্ছে এটা, এটা মানে হচ্ছে এটা, এটা মানে হচ্ছে এটা, দ্যাট কভার্স দ্য হোল পার্ট অফ দিস টপিক। Then এই টপিক হচ্ছে এটা এটা covers the whole part of this topic, এটা covers the whole part of this topic. Congratulations, you have the full tree, you have the full foundational understanding of this chapter. For some reason, no one does that, which is, yeah, okay. Then, yeah, okay. Lastly, I think it's বলছি, I didn't even mention like an additional, yeah, you have your college, you have Udbhash exams, you have SARS, maybe, I'm not sure. And then, okay, even if you're like a top diligent student, can you really keep this up without burning out? Are you sure? Are you really sure? What if you have family problems? What if it's unpleasant? Like, what if you're not in a situation where you can study properly, with peace of mind? What if you're sick? What if you're just not feeling it today? People have bad days. Teachers have bad days. What if, what did I write? Oh yeah, what if you have like an important event, or ভাইয়ের বিয়ে? কি করবা? Nothing. Like, you miss 1 or 2 days in this extremely cramped and highly efficient schedule. You miss 1 or 2 days, you're done. You're done. There's no catching up. You cannot catch up. You're dead. So that's how this kind of like exams and so much excessive studying, I wouldn't call it learning. Studying can be harmful. Okay. Anyways, that's all I have to say about this one. Topic number 3. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Overwhelming repetition. Okay. Repetition. In learning, repetition is absolutely necessary. Okay, it is necessary. Um, it's necessary to drill the foundational ideas into your head so well, ah, so well that you don't forget it. Right? You practice, 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 and then it's drilled that it just becomes second nature. Okay. So repetition is important. However, that's not the repetition she was talking about. The one that I'm talking about, that's the one that's important, but she was talking about another one. So, okay, I'll get to that a bit later. Now, first let me finish the one I was talking about, which is um, drilling the idea into your head so well it just becomes second nature. You don't even have to think about it. Your first time you have to think, form the connections in your brain, and like how to solve this math, how to connect this concept to that concept. Okay, how does this concept difference ki egulo? First time you have to think. Keep practicing, then it's just likhe rakba. It's just muscle memory. Okay, and it's when you're learning, you have to learn in layers, right? In your first layer, like what does that mean? Learning in layers. You'll complete the syllabus multiple times. You have to complete the syllabus multiple times. That sounds like scary to you guys, right? How do I complete this bigger syllabus this many times? Well, here's the answer. You don't complete the whole thing that many times. At least 2 থেকে 3 বার পড়া উচিত. But not the whole thing 2 থেকে 3 বার. Right? You read the most important 60% of the topics your first time. You complete the whole syllabus with 60% of topics. Then when তোমার সব মানে পুরো syllabus শেষ for that book or for that paper, you do it again. This time covering the topics that you haven't covered before, covering the more obscure, like more details topics আর কি. Then you do it again with even more details this time. Right? First you cover 60%, then you cover 80% and an additional 20, then you cover 95%. Why I stopped at 95 is because the rest five, there's always like a 5% that you should never study. It's just like excessive information for no reason, and there's no reason. Like you won't learn anything from this. তোমার exam অনেক কম আসবে, but থাকবে, whatever. So there's 3 layers I talked about. The 60% foundational, 80% like slightly higher knowledge, and 95% excessive A plus guarantee করার জন্য, I guess. And she talked about like this is she was talking about overwhelming repetition, right? So she was talking about how there are so many books, for udvash courses. Like first you have your academic books, then you have your admission books, and she mentioned another one which I don't really remember, but okay, so there are 3, I'm assuming. I know there are at least 2, but where the third one is, I'm not really sure. Maybe first year, second year admission, এরকম হতে পারে, I'm not sure. However, first of all, there are 2 things to say about this. First of all the books are the exact same, right? They're all filled to the brim with unnecessary detail. They're so overly detailed with 95, heck, 100% of information that I talked about in the layers thing. Now, when it's filled to the brim with information, you don't really know how much of that 100% is the 60%, how much of that is the most important basically, how much of it is like a slightly less important, the 20%, how much of it is even less than that, the other 15%. Now, they have these thick books, right, with over detailed information, and it's the same for academics, it's the same for admission. They're just almost the same books. I know this. She said this, and I know this to be true because I have them. It's right. And it's like, why? Why this unnecessary repetition, right? You could have made 3 books based on 3 layers, right? This first book is just the 60%, the foundational learning that you absolutely need, এটা ছাড়া থাক মানে চ্যাপ্টারই শেষ হবে না। এইটা যদি এই পার্টটা যদি না শেষ করো, ইউ ক্যান সে যে তুমি চ্যাপ্টারটা শেষ করছো। ওকে, সিডি অ্যান্সার করতে পারবো না, দ্যাট বেসিকলি। Then you learn the other 20%. You learn how to answer most ABs and a few like except a few rare questions. All right. Then have a third book, like the admission book, the be all end all book. Have every last detail in them. Okay. At least now the students have a choice to pick between, oh, pick based on their level of understanding and knowledge. Do I pick the simple one that only touches on the basics and fundamentals? Do I pick the slightly harder one that touches into more complicated topics? Or do I pick the most complicated one with all the details I could ever need? There are students that fit every category. It's a missed opportunity. Like, yeah. And the second point, oh boy, when she showed me the book, right? She showed a book, right? That was physics second পেপারের আধা, একটা সাবজেক্টের একটা পেপারের আধা, that covers 5 chapters in like one book. And like, why it's so thick as well, just for 5 chapters, mane. I feel like I don't want to sound cocky, but I feel like I can make a better book than that, right? I can make a literal picture book with that many pages. I can introduce every single topic that could ever come here. I could include the definition and some examples. I could include like a big picture that shows you that concept. I could include another picture that shows its like functions, how it applies, and I still wouldn't run out of pages. It's excessive. And when students see this big of a book, they're like, oh, এত বেশি পড়াশোনা করতে হয়, like মানে তখন আর পড়তে ইচ্ছা করে না, like you like you lost before you even started. And that's really unfortunate because you don't have to study that much. You have to study, মানে তুমি যদি সবগুলো পেপারে সবগুলো বই নাও, I would say you have to study about 30%, 20 to 30% of all the stuff that's in all of those books combined. সবগুলো বই যদি ব্যাক টু ব্যাক এভাবে সিরিয়ালে সাজাও, I would say 30% তোমাকে পড়তে হবে খালি. Like, and that's good. That's for a good result, not just for like basic. So it's stupid. It's very, very stupid. Acha. And I sincerely believe that, I sincerely believe that group subjects could be finished. I'm talking about PCMB, uh, physics, chemistry, biology, math. The 4 group subjects could be finished within 5 to 6 months. Properly. Properly. Properly as in like not covering everything, but covering just enough where you can say, acha, amar syllabus ekbar shesh. 5 to 6 months. But it's kind of 5 to 6 months with an asterisk, right? There's a caveat to it. 5 to 6 months if you're not studying anything else, right? Imagine, this only works if you're studying like 2 subjects at a time. মনে করো physics পড়তেছো, chemistry পড়তেছো. Okay, you study like only chemistry for like 1 or 2 days or 3 days. Then you study physics for 2 or 3 days. Then back to chemistry, back to physics. Or you can even like half the day you can study chemistry, half the day you can study physics. Now, why does this work? Because the more you study one particular thing, the more your brain becomes wired to solve problems in that particular thing. The more chemistry problems you solve, the more chemistry chapters you learn, the more easier chemistry becomes. Obviously, that's obvious to everyone. But it's not just that. It becomes easier at a much faster rate than if you were studying, say, 5 subjects at once. Bangla পড়তেছো, English পড়তেছো, ICT পড়তেছো, math পড়তেছো, chemistry পড়তেছো. তখন হচ্ছে যে like you don't get to make progress as fast. So if you had the chance to study, say, two subjects and study them to completion, absolute completion, right? When I switch between them, when you're bored of the one, when bored of one, touch the other. When you're bored of the other, touch the one. So switch between them to completion. It will take 5 to 6 months max to finish everything, except maybe math. Like ম্যাথের তোমার কনসেপ্ট শেষ হবে, একবার পড়া হবে, but math is a bit different. You need to like drill maths much more, you need to practice them much more, মুখস্থ করো basically. মানে that's another thing I'll talk about later, but yeah, almost you'll finish 80 to 90% of the full syllabus within 5 to 6 months. Of group subjects, okay, if I include the non-group subjects, 6 to 10 months maximum. Maximum, it cannot exceed 10 months. Even if you tried, if you studied properly, and I'm not talking like 10-12 hours a day, I'm talking 3-4 hours a day, right? 3-4 hours, like two if you're like really really focused, but 3-4 hours with the same, like with breaks and stuff, with breaks and on a Pomodoro timer or whatever you use, 3-4 hours studying group subjects, two subjects to completion, back and forth, 10 months for every subject that's out there. Then you can spend the rest of your time revising those, which will take even faster. Like you can probably revise everything within a month, and then revise it. Okay, a month একটু বেশি কম হয়ে গেছে, maybe 2 months. Then revise it again within a month, and again within 2 weeks, and it just gets less and less. The time you need to cover the whole syllabus just gets less and less. Now, why I mention this is because most people don't have that kind of time. I say that you can finish like the group subjects within 5 to 6 months, and I fully believe it. I fully believe it. I've gone through HSC and I know what it's like. I've gone through a short syllabus, so okay, let's say 6 to 8 months for group subjects. But again, I don't think that's true. Like the stuff that wasn't in the short syllabus aren't that complicated. Some of them are biochemistry, other chapters, but our short syllabus contain most of the important and most of the bulky chapters. Okay, the chapters where if you know them, the chapters that aren't in the short syllabus, they get much easier. Okay, so you can finish the syllabus pretty quickly, and that's like মানে একটু লেজারলি পড়ে, you're like studying 2 to 3 to 4 hours a day, আস্তে আস্তে পড়ে, taking your sweet time, enjoying your life. But most people don't get to do that. Most people, as I said, have college, and like they hate, like a lot of them hate college and their classes, maybe not all of them but some of them, and like they have coachings and they have sirs, and where's the time to study for yourself? আর কি নিজের জন্য পড়তে মন চায় আদৌ? Yeah. Okay. Acha. You shouldn't need a coaching in the first place. You shouldn't. Your college should be enough. The fact that it's not enough, and your college, like our colleges are very, their level of teaching isn't very adequate. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say about that. I was very frustrated and dissatisfied with the level of teaching I reached in college. I learned more with one YouTube lecture than I have any teacher, any college lecture whatsoever. Okay. I wrote an HSC student is bombarded with tons of info and they don't know what to do. They get the false impression that this is necessary in order to succeed. But nothing could be further from the truth. Okay. This is still in the point of overwhelming repetition. Sorry, this video is too long. But okay. An HSC student is bombarded with tons of info and they don't know what to do. Yeah, you are. Ever since you were like the transition from SSC to HSC, the difference is huge. You have so much information, Your books are so bloated, right? হাজারি স্যারের যদি তোমার কেমিস্ট্রি বইটা থাকে, my god, that is the one of the worst books I've ever seen. It's so bloated, so filled with unnecessary information. And I tried to be a diligent student. I tried to be like that, that topper who does like uh, start completes the whole chapter first page to last page, প্রতিটা জিনিস পড়ে পড়ে পড়ে. Will not work because those books are not designed like that. They have so much bloat, and the problem I have with it is, first of all, why are there so much bloat? এত unnecessary information কেন আছে? Why is it so badly written? And number two হচ্ছে যে, how are we supposed to distinguish bloat from non-bloat? How do I know এই লাইনটা একদম utmost importance আছে in লাইনটা নাই? This unnecessarily bloat basically makes the book unreadable. It does. It makes the book unreadable unless তোমার for some reason দাগানো আছে. And that's still not a solution. It's like a band-aid solution to a much, much bigger problem. And দাগানো আছে, there's just a lot of bloat, and Udvash books and like other supplementary books are supposed to counteract that problem, provide a much like shorter summarized book with focused stuff, focused elements where you know what's important, what's not. But again, they just end up being a slightly less worse version of the official books, as far as I know, which is terrible. Okay, on to my last point, point number 4, which her last point actually, but I'm talking. Division among students. Okay, this is universal. This doesn't just belong to Udbhash, this is universal, right? Your sir, your home tutor, your batch tutor, your coaching tutor, your teachers, they all expect you to have a certain level of knowledge, which if you don't have, they'll make fun of you. They'll make fun of you. You'll feel terrible for not knowing something as simple as that. And I just hate that coachings and tutors, these things that are supposed to fill in the gaps that কলেজ ডাজন্ট. আচ্ছা, কলেজ ধরলাম ধরলাম আমি বুঝলাম তোমার টিচাররা আর লাইক তুমি 9-10 পড়ো নাই কেন, টিচারদের এরকম ইয়া থাকে. But coachings are supposed to fill in the gaps that college like doesn't get, right? It's supposed to um, coaching is supposed to fill in the gaps, and it's supposed to like make the courses self-sufficient, so that even if you know nothing from prior knowledge, তুমি যদি প্লাস মাইনাস করতে না জানো তখন গিয়ে সমস্যা হইতে পারে. বাট এই প্লাস মাইনাস একদম বেসিক জিনিস ছাড়া আর কিছু যেন না দরকার হয়, আর কিছু প্রায়ার নলেজ যেন না দরকার হয়. দ্যাটস ওয়াই ইউ গো টু কোচিংস, দ্যাটস ওয়াই ইউ হায়ার টিচার্স, দ্যাটস দেয়ার জব. And yeah, they don't care about that, especially with Bhash. I agree. Their academics courses focus heavily on students who already know their stuff, and they just want to become extra toppers. So for normal students like her, like me, normal students, whatever that means, um, like our already low self-esteem and low confidence gets even lower seeing that we're so behind compared to all these other Udbhash students who are doing well. Right? The reason I can like Udbhash exams and others cannot is because I know what the exams are. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to provide questions that you've never seen before, which is cool. I like that. But most students probably don't want that. They want questions that will absolutely appear on the HSC exam, so they can drill them, they can practice them, and see how much they know. এখন it's মানে স্বাভাবিক যে why they don't like the exams, why it frustrates them. Yeah, it really sucks that no course exists that basically treats you as you know nothing, right? নাথিং বলতে একটু বেসিক তো লাগে, প্লাস মাইনাস তো সবাই জানতে হয়, এবিসিডি সবাই জানতে হয়। এটা ছাড়া these like HSC courses, these aren't so complicated যে তোমার অনেক কিছু জানা লাগবে। নো, ইউ ডোন্ট। তোমার সর্বোচ্চ 1 থেকে 2 ঘন্টা to clear out the basics, and then like one extra class basically to clear out every basic যেটা তুমি you may have missed, and অনেক কারণে মিস হইতে পারে, রাইট? ইন পাস্ট ক্লাসেস অনেক কারণেই মিস হতে পারে, মেবি তুমি ওই চ্যাপ্টারটা পড়ো নাই। And here we go to my personal experience with this, which is I only got good at algebra like basic algebra at admissions. Just let that sink in. যে algebra ক্লাস 5 থেকে ইন্ট্রোডিউস করছে, আমি অ্যাডমিশনে গিয়ে এটা ফাইনালি সব কিছু বুঝছি। And I'll tell you the reason, right? I was always a bit of a like lazy learner. I like to learn things that were the easiest to learn. কোনো মতে পাশ করে, like I didn't get why I'm learning in the first place, right? I was just thrust into school without any guidance, and I was like, okay, fine, I'll do what you tell me. Oh, I have to pass, or মানে আমাকে বকা দিবে, আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, I'll do the bare minimum in order to pass. And I always pick the easiest chapters, arithmetic, right? But যখন algebra was introduced, I was like, oh, this is tough. I'll just stick with arithmetic since, মানে, এখন পড়লে নেক্সট ক্লাসে তো মানে, তখন ইট ইউজ টু বি দ্য কেস ওয়ার একটা ক্লাসে যা পড়ো নেক্সট ক্লাসে ওই চ্যাপ্টারগুলো তেমন আর আসে না, মানে আসে, বাট আই ডিডন্ট রিয়েলাইজ দ্যাট আর কি। মানে আই ডিডন্ট রিয়েলাইজ দ্যাট নেক্সট ক্লাসে আগের ক্লাসের চ্যাপ্টারগুলো জাস্ট স্লাইটলি হার্ডার ভার্সন আসে, রাইট? Anyways, I avoided algebra for class 5, 6. Okay, একটু তো করতে হয়েছে অবশ্য, বাট আমি কখনো ইন ডেপথ বুঝতে পারতাম না how algebras work, how fractions work, how you simplify, how equations work. And these foundational gaps gave me so much pain during my HSC life. For some of you it might be unthinkable যে আমি এত বেসিক একটা জিনিস কেমনে মিস করছি, like আমি এত ডাম কেমনে, and I want to tell you I'm not dumb, right? এটা হতে পারে, like there's this is one possible reason out of many reasons that you can miss a topic. There's no reason যে you should be reprimanded for it in the later classes যে তুমি এটা জানো না কেন। Heck, your job is to teach me. It's in your job description. It comes with the job title. Do your job, please. When you মানে আমি একটা জিনিস পারতেছি না and you just reprimand me, you make fun of me, all the other kids laugh, do you think I'll ever want to learn that? যদি আমার স্পাইট না থাকে, right? A lot of people have spite. I never did. Like একদম জেদ করে আমি শিখে ফেলবো. I never had that. So I never learned out of spite. I only learned out of necessity, and later, as I slowly grew up more and more out of love, because I actually loved to learn. Which brings me to my last point. Okay, uh, before I bring up my last point, there's 2 more points. Number 1, UDVASH is pretty much the only hope for English version. There are a few other coachings, ACS and others, who are starting to open English version departments. However, UDVASH is their only UDVASH is mostly the only hope for English version students. And it sucks that they're not very inclusive, right? They're not all encompassing. They only prefer the একদম টপার্স যারা সব কিছু অলরেডি জানে, ওদেরকে আরও বেশি জানানোর জন্য কষ্ট করে। And so imagine you're an English version student, right? দেখতেছো যে তোমার আর কোথাও নাই, শুধু উদ্ভাসেই ওরা কোর্সটা প্রপারলি ইংলিশে বলে। Then you go and then you see যে oh, like this is my only hope, and even they are not even considering me as their student. আমার জন্য মানে আমার লেভেলে পড়া কিছু পড়াচ্ছে না, সব কিছু হাই লেভেলে পড়াচ্ছে। So what do you do? That's one more point before the last one, which is I'm a pretty bad student, or at least I was. I love to learn. I genuinely do. I really, really love to learn, and I like if you've 3 Idiots দেখছো না, of course you have. You বাংলাদেশ থাকো. You know Rancho, the main character, Amir Khan's character. He was extremely inspirational to me, and I wanted to be him. I wanted to learn for the sake of learning, and I love it. I love to learn. I'm extremely curious. Learning is very fun when you don't have this pressure and that pressure and this expectation and that. It's really fun, and it's just sad we've crushed every student's curiosity. We've crushed and crumbled them into dust. I was a I when I started HSC, there were a lot of problems. Number one problem were the bloated books. Right, I didn't know how to properly navigate the books. I just thought every line in the book was important, so I was just reading them. Now, anyone who who's in HSC knows that that's stupid, and not every line is important. And তখন আমার একটা সমস্যা হইতো যে I would learn a lot, but দেখতাম যে কোশ্চেন আনসার করতে পারতাম না. Right, I would learn a lot from the book, I would read every line, understand, but আমি question for some reason আনসার করতাম পারতাম না because I'm reading the wrong parts, right? And obviously the books are so bloated I never get the time to even finish one chapter, right? তখন no matter how much I put how much time I put behind learning, I was always behind. And as a result, number one problem is the bloated books. Number two problems is like lack of navigation. I don't know how to navigate this stuff. Number three is I didn't like my college teachers very much. They weren't very good at like making learning interesting as it should be. So as a result, I failed. 3 terms in a row in HSC I failed. I failed my half yearly exam, my final exam, and my pre-test exam. 3 terms in a row. So after the first fail, একটা undertaken sign করাইতে হয়েছে my parents. They had to like write a application where my student won't fail again. I promise. I double promise, and please let him continue. And then after I got another one, they made them sign another undertaken. My student won't fail again. Promise. I double double promise. I failed half yearly. I failed final. I failed the pretest. And first year of HSC for me was a very, very depressing time. I was so lost and upset, and I didn't understand anything, and everything just seemed like so out of my reach. I slowly became better after first year, and when I finally, after failing for 3 terms straight, I finally studied like really, really hard, and I passed the test exam, the exam you need to pass in order to actually sit for HSC. I passed the test exam. I cried my eyes out. Like, there was that much pressure on me. I cried my eyes out, every last drop. Like, and it was an ugly cry too. Like with every fiber of my being, I was happy that I passed. I was glad that I survived. There's a lot of stigma, especially in HSC, among people who fail, right? মানে everyone knows the meme, right? পাশের বাসার আন্টি বলে যে হ্যাঁ আমার ছেলে তো এটা করতেছে, and in HSC that's like really prevalent, and it's among that you have a lot of pressure to do well. So that's why I felt a giant release when I finally passed. Okay, on to my last topic, which is studying is supposed to be fun. Okay? Don't cringe. Don't cringe. It's true. Studying, or let me use a better word, learning, learning is supposed to be fun, right? When's the last time you learned something interesting and then you didn't smile, right? When you learned that between the Earth and the Moon, you could fit every planet in the solar system. The distance is that vast. When I learned that, I smiled. When I learned that the only one-dimensional object that might exist in this universe might be in the center of a black hole, right? The singularity, a 1D point, I smiled. When I learned that heavier elements, from like heavier as in higher than helium, all the way up to the non-man-made elements, they formed through fusion inside of stars and through supernova, I smiled. When I learned that every part of like your body, if every your cell and your organelles and everything that your body does, every biological function has a purpose, right? What does the mitochondria do? It provides energy. It's a powerhouse of the cell. What does the nucleus do? It's the brain of the cell, basically. It signals it what to do. What does the ribosome do? It synthesizes protein. What does the Golgi apparatus do? It packages protein and makes it, like it modifies it to make it ready for travel. There's a purpose behind everything that your body does. Your body releases insulin when where your body releases insulin when blood sugar gets high. It breaks down glucose, so it increases glucose metabolism and decreases fatty acid metabolism. Whatever, I'm getting out of topic. Basically, when I learned that everything in your body has a purpose, I smiled. When I learned in physics that my most feared topic in physics was dynamics, right? Like dynamics, both the velocity, yeah, and those stuff, those motion, force, work, power, they're all related to each other, and they all scared the crap out of me. Since they're so related to each other, I would never know যে একটা চ্যাপ্টার পড়ার জন্য একটা অঙ্ক পারতেছি না. The reason would probably be because some information I missed in another chapter. And that's why, yeah, but when I finally learned everything in order, I smiled. Like, this makes so much sense. Projectile motion, that's so easy. It really is. When I learn something new, I smile. And it's sad that that's gone from like most forms of teaching, and I really want to bring it back. Right here. আচ্ছা, I can't tell. আমি ডাক্তারের হাতে লেখা দিয়ে লিখছি, but I want to bring it back. I want to bring back the joy in learning. I teach, I myself being a HSC 24 student, I teach a HSC 27 student, and I am having the time of my life. It's so fun. Do you HSC students, do you have any idea how fun it is to study HSC topics without the pressure of getting a GPA 5? I don't have to get a GPA 5 anymore. I can just learn. And it's so fun now without all the pressure. I can like discuss all my nerdy ideas and all my nerdy like stories about the topic related stories I have with my student, and I have a lot of fun. And it feels good seeing that she has a lot of fun as well. A student has a lot of fun as well. And nothing could be more magical than teaching someone something new. That's it. I hope your exam went well.